Hello everyone, and thank you for coming to our event today. My name's Leah Ellis, and as the chair of the Merseytravel Unison Branch Equality and Diversity Working Group, I'd like to welcome you here today. I'll hand over now to Kim Johnson MP, please.
Thank you, comrades, and thank you to the Merseytravel branch for the invite. And hopefully when Roger becomes the new General Secretary of Unison, you'll work even closer together. There you go, Rog, shout out. I'm very privileged and proud to have been elected as the MP for Liverpool Riverside in December 2019. And as Steve mentioned, I am the first Black MP ever to have been elected in Liverpool. And while it does make me proud, it also makes me very sad, because I think it is a very sad indictment of this city that it's taken so long to elect a Black MP, particularly given our very long established history. We have the longest Black community ever in Europe, dating back hundreds of years. And so that is an issue. And prior to being elected an MP, I used to work for the City Council in adult services. I was a member of the Staff Diversity Forum, and I was forever challenging the council over its very poor recruitment, selection and retention of Black staff. We have a Black population in the city of just over 11%. And when I worked in the council, our Black workforce was just over 5%. So we clearly didn't represent the community in which we served. And I think, Steve and other members have alluded to the significant underrepresentation that we have in the city. But I make no apology when I say that I truly believe that has to do with deeply entrenched institutional racism. And the only way of tackling that head on is to put actions in place. I don't want to see another report. I don't want to see another working group, because we know what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is that people need to be given jobs. We need to be looking at our school system, as Anna alluded to. The number of Black teachers we have in the city is abominably low, along with the number of Black governors in the city is abominably low. And I'm a firm believer in that actions speak louder than words. And I do hope that the race task force that's been set up by Joe does work. It's been given 12 months, but it is a mammoth task that we have to look at. And I know that Tracy, as the chair of that group, will have a mammoth task to take it forward. But in terms of what needs to happen in our city, people have talked about, and I think COVID and Black Lives Matter has shone a very bright light on racism and race inequality particularly in the city. Steve spoke earlier on about COVID, the fact that we are now a tier 3 because Liverpool has suffered exponentially over the years in terms of massive social and health inequalities, and the only way of addressing that is being able to have the funding to create jobs and give people the wage for the job that they do, which is clearly not happening at the moment. And we know that as a result of COVID and at the end of furlough, that we will be hitting a massive job tsunami just around the corner in October when the furlough scheme ends. And I know that the Chancellor has offered a funding package to the city, but 67% is not going to hit it. In terms of rent and bills have not been reduced by 67%. So people are going to be struggling in terms of moving forward. But in terms of me and challenging anti-racism, it's something that I've been involved in all of my adult life. I was born, I grew up, and I still live in the constituency in which I was born and what I'm now representing. And I did fight the fascists on the streets when I was a teenager in Liverpool. And as Leah alluded to, we do constantly either lock them in cupboards in the train station, or we send them packing, but in terms of challenging racism, that's one way. But, you know, for me, the most significant way is challenging racism in the workplace. You know, I've just said that, you know, the council is not represented, but that goes right across the board in this city, you know, in terms of our public and private organisations. So, and I think what you said at the beginning, Leah, was that, yes, we do have equality legislation, but it's not about the legislation, it's about what we do together collaboratively in the workplaces that makes those significant changes. And again, as an employee, I did challenge that on a regular basis with Joe, with my managers, and challenge why we weren't looking at a positive action scheme, because, and I know that's not the best way forward, but in terms of Liverpool and getting people into jobs, that worked very well. But my role in Unison, because when I became a shop steward for Unison, I did so because management were going to put in a service review, jobs were being changed significantly, people were going to be on a reduced salary. So I was one of those people that, you know, challenged, and then I got suckered into the union that way. And it was like, well, you can become a branch officer. And so for me, getting involved and becoming active in Unison was the best thing ever. Because prior to that, you know, my idea of Unison, of a union, was that it provided protection for jobs, or they took you out on strike. And that was my view and vision of the world of a union at that time. But for me, it was it provided a great insight, and particularly in terms of Unison, because of the work that it did in terms of establishing self-organised groups. You know, I became a rep, I became an officer in my branch, and I established a Black workers group for the city, Liverpool City branch. And from there, it was really important for me to bring people along with me. And so getting people involved again in terms of regional and national aspects of the union was really important. I became the deputy chair of the regional and national Black members. I became active in the women's self-organised group. But I went to my first women's conference in Bournemouth last year with a Black colleague, and I was so disappointed when I arrived that there was only me and my colleague. We were the only Black representatives from the Northwest, which I used to find quite alarming, really, given that the Northwest is the largest region of Unison. And yet I would often find myself at regional meetings being the only Black person. I sat on Labour Link, the International Committee, various committees, and yet I was often the only Black person. So I really welcome and support you in terms of the establishment of your group. But I just wanted to qualify, because I don't use any of those anachronisms, you know, BAME, BME. I don't like them. I don't like to be referred to. I'm Black, and I'm proud to say that I'm Black. And in terms of Unison's national Black members, we passed a motion in 2014 to say that we as a union would only use the word Black when we're talking about people who are not white. And so, and I make no apology for that, because that's what I grew up with. And I think it's really important in terms of, for me, in terms of my self-identity, in terms of raising that as an issue. But in terms of the union, as Roger alluded to, you know, the union isn't great as well. You know, the council's not good, the union's not good. As a regional Black members officer a couple of years ago, the union produced a DVD about the impact of austerity on the public sector workers, and what they failed to do was to recognise that we had Black public sector workers, but that was not identified in this DVD. And so I challenged the union about that. And initially they weren't going to do anything about it. They weren't going to pull it. They weren't going to make any changes. And then working with colleagues in all hierarchies of the union, it was eventually pulled. And so it's about making sure that Black people are around the table or in the room when decisions are made, because if Black voices aren't heard, then, you know, things aren't going to change. So I think it's really important that, you know, your branch has an equality and diversity, or, you know, a Black members SOG, so that those individuals can take part, because the National Black Members Conference is the largest gathering of Black workers in Europe. And I think it provides a great opportunity for Black workers coming together. Well, it did until COVID, unfortunately. The last conference was February this year, and it is a great opportunity for people to network, but it's also a great way for people to get involved in the union who don't want to be a health and safety rep, or they don't want to be a shop steward or take on any of those roles. So getting involved in SOGs gets them involved and active in other aspects of the union, and I think that's really important, because it does provide a stepping stone, or it provides an opportunity to grow and raise awareness of what's needed within the union. And I'm more than happy to provide any level of support once the group is up and running. But I'd just like to end by saying I think it's great that you're setting up. And I think it's great for members of your branch to get involved and making their voices heard. And I wish you the best of luck in terms of going forward. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I could see some rounds of applause in the back office there as well. I couldn't agree more. We have a Black members officer who sits on the Equality and Diversity group, and we are currently, and certainly he is looking at developing the self-organised group, the SOG. Challenging, to say the least, due to the lack of kind of uptake and the lack of Black members within our branch. Which is something we know we need to address, but he's also going to make connections with branches outside of our one, so that we can look at maybe a city region group, because like you say, you know, we've got to come together. There needs to be that platform. We're also discussing as a group that I'm really glad you said so, the term BAME. And I know a couple of members, for instance, are uncomfortable with that term, and we're gonna make or certainly that those members are going to make the call on that term, because I think many people agree with you. I think what you've expressed perfectly is the idea that, you know, enough is enough, and these things are not okay. We need to go beyond our legal mandatory duty, and we've got a lot to do as a branch, and, you know, I'm sure the others will say as an employer as well. Sadly, I hope that, you know, I think we have to recognise that COVID could worsen things. So I think more than ever, we need to have that focus on equality and diversity. If things weren't bad enough already, you know, I think people are plunged into poverty worse than they've been before. So yeah, I thought what you said was really inspirational and motivational, and I'm thrilled that you're going to continue to work with us and help us, because we are new. But we have the right intentions, but we do need that guidance. So I'm thrilled that you'll be able to offer us that. So thank you so much.